Hi everyone, Natalie Nana here and I welcome you all back to Onana Nation. And guys, today I have with me some very exciting news. We are 600 plus subscribers. Yay! I'm so grateful, guys. I just want to give a big shout out to all my amazing subscribers. You guys have just been there-ish. I see all the comments. I see all the thumbs up. I see all those who are sharing. You guys already know I reply every single comment. I have all the time in the world to reply you guys. Thank you all. Just keep the comments coming. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Oh my goodness, guys. 600 plus. Yay! I'm so happy, guys. So I just wanted to say thank you, a big thank you to all my amazing subscribers. You guys are my push, you guys are my motivation, you guys are my inspiration. I'm so grateful to have you all. Thank you, and thank you again for all you do. So guys, today's video is dedicated to talking about some of the most common mistakes we make during the US visa acquisition process and how to avoid them. So if that's something you'll be looking to know more about, this is the right video for you. Stay tuned and let's get right into it. So first and foremost, I'd like for everybody to know that your visa acquisition process begins from the application. So everybody should take special care of every single detail that goes in to their application. Once you fill the application form, if you need to print a copy of your application and keep, by all means please do. If you need to write down certain details manually, by all means please do. We live in the digital age. You can even take a screenshot of your application form and keep, just to make sure you remember every single detail, because when you go in there for your interview, those are the questions they are going to be asking you, and you don't want to have an inconsistent story whereby you wrote banking and finance there and now they're asking you, you're talking about economic and finance. Those are not the same. So make sure you remember every single detail. Keep copies of your application form so you remember when you're being asked. And now I know some people have their brothers and sisters abroad applying for them, and some people have their friends or their parents applying for them. So if somebody else is applying for you, or if you got an agent to apply for you, make sure you are involved in the application process, because when you go in there, they're going to be asking you all these small questions and you're not going to know what to say. So make sure you're asking, hey brother, what course are you applying for? Hey sister, what exact university are you applying at? Make sure you know all these single details, because when you go in there, you're going to be asked. And if you have inconsistencies in your story, you're really not helping your case. So the very first mistake people make is from the day they fill the application, they forget all these details, and the day they really have their interview can be like 6 months after or 3 months after, depending on the volume of cases at the embassy. So make sure you remember every single detail. So even if your appointment is 6 months or 3 months, you can still make sure you know every single information that went into your form. That helps a great deal. So the next most common mistake which we always make during our US interview is the fact that we don't make a strong case for ourselves. Guys, when you get in there, you're basically your own attorney, you're basically your own advocate. So everything you say should go towards making a strong case for yourself. So when you go in there, you give all your good points to them, and chances are you're going to get your visa. For example, you're a student, you want to come to the US, and they ask you during your interview, why international humanitarian law? That's a chance for you to sell yourself to them. Oh, I'm very passionate about humanitarian causes. Actually, I volunteered for 6 months at the Southern Cameroon refugee camp, or I run a shelter for abused and battered women, or I'm a lawyer defending victims of domestic violence. I run a law firm with my wife, and during my absence, my wife is going to be running the firm, and when I graduate in 2 years' time, I'm going to come back and take over the firm. And that way, you're making him know you have something important you have to come back to. And again, you're letting him know what you're going to study relates to what you're already practicing. And when you make a good case for yourself this way, chances are you're going to get your visa. So the second most common mistake which people always make when they go for the US visa interview is the fact that they argue with the consular officer. I know sometimes it's frustrating. You have all these points you want to prove, you have all these documents you want to show, and they're just not asking you. You don't have to get flustered and start arguing with the consular officer, because this is the same person who is going to give you your visa. So make sure you keep it down low, and even if you have something to say, find a very polite way to say it. For example, you can be like, could you please give me a chance to explain myself? Or could you please take a look at this document? Or would you please hold that for one moment while I get this file for you? Just always try to find a way which is more polite to say it. That way you're keeping it low, you're keeping it nice and respectful, and chances are you're going to get your visa. So guys, the next most common mistake which people always make when they go in there for the interview is the fact that they're trying to lie their way to a visa, or they're trying to outsmart the person who is interviewing them by telling them all these sharp stories and presenting all these things which are not really accurate. You want to make sure you're not lying when you get in there. Actually, when you step into the embassy, there's this warning on the wall that says any misrepresentation of facts, any fake documents can result in a lifetime ban. So when you go in there lying, you can really affect your case seriously and hurt even future possible chances of getting a visa. So I'm sure you guys have heard of a blacklist. Yes, it's a blacklist, and that's true. So when you go in there with fake documents, or when you go in there you're trying to outsmart them with all these sharp stories that you really cannot prove, or when you're clearly lying to them, you can get blacklisted. So make sure when you go in there you're telling the truth. The truth always saves people. So speak your truth and stick to your truth. When you lie, or when you're presenting fraudulent documents, or when you're misrepresenting facts, it can lead to you being blacklisted. So this next one is a very common mistake which most people make. For example, they've been denied a visa in a previous trial, and now they think they have to travel to a different city or a different country or a different town to apply. And sometimes there's people who have had a rejection stamped on their passport, so they go get a new passport, a fresh passport, because they don't want that rejection to be shown on the passport, and they go try again thinking they're going to outsmart the consular officers. What you have to remember is the fact that these people do keep a centralized computer record for the US embassies all over the world. So if you are refused a visa in India and today you're in Cameroon or Nigeria trying, just know that when they key your name in the system, your history with the US embassy worldwide is going to pop up. So on their screen they're going to see this person was rejected a visa in Cameroon and now they're in Nigeria trying. On your screen they are going to see all these details, and make sure you're not trying to outsmart them, because they keep a centralized record. Every time they type your name, all your history pops up. So you want to be mindful of that fact. So this next mistake has to do with people who have been denied a visa. If you have been denied a visa, at the counter they let you know you definitely have the possibility to reapply. But before reapplying, you have to make sure you've had a significant change in your circumstance. For example, you don't just have to go back home a day after the rejection and you're reapplying, or 2 days after you were denied a visa you're reapplying. Between 1 and 2 days, what significant change can occur? So you want to make sure you stay for a little bit. You can take maybe 1 month or 3 months or 6 months before you reapply. That way they know you're taking yourself seriously. That way they know you've gone and looked for circumstances, or you've looked for the right documents and stuff before reapplying. It doesn't really speak well for you to be denied a visa today and the next day you're reapplying. Make sure you take a little time in between, get the right documents, get your facts straight, get your file fixed before you reapply. So this next one has to do with visitor visas. If you were a visitor in the US and you had 9 months visa and the 9 months has expired and you go back to your home country, don't just rush back to the US embassy after 1 week to reapply for you to come back to the US. At the time of applying for your visitor visa, you were telling them how you have strong ties to your home country, how you have a wife and 6 children, how you have a grandma, how you have a company to run, blah blah blah. And now you've been in the US for 9 months and you're back in your home country. You've not even made 1 week and now you're already at the embassy looking for a visa to come back. They are not going to take you seriously, and they're going to interpret that like not having sufficient ties to your home country. You've been away for 9 months and you have a wife and 6 kids. You're back, you've not even been there for 1 week and you're already looking to come back again. They're going to be like, it's just 1 week, so when have you had time to bond with your wife, with your children, blah blah blah. You said you have enough ties to home country, but you've been here only for 1 week, so who are you fooling? So you want to make sure your actions don't speak against your case. If you're trying to find a visitor visa for the second time, make sure you've stayed in your home country at least for a couple of months before you can reapply. So the next mistake which we always make during our interview process is the fact that we go unprepared. You have to be prepared for your interview. Like we always say, proper preparation prevents poor performance. When you have the right documents, when you have the right story, when you have the right everything you need, chances are you're going to get your visa. So you have to prepare your documents, put them in a file, make sure you go over them, check over and over again before you go for your interview. The next thing you have to do is pay the relevant fees appropriate to your case. Sometimes people go in there, oh, I thought my service fee was $180, it's $200. Oh, I thought my interview fee was this or that. So make sure you know the exact fee and you have the exact money and you pay it there at the counter. Or if you've paid online, it's always good to come with your receipt. So that's a little mistake people make. Different fees apply to different cases. Know your case. Know exactly how much you have to pay. If you've paid online, make sure you come with your receipt. If you're going to pay there at the counter, make sure you come with the exact amount of money you need. So the next most common mistake which people always make during the US visa interview is they go in there dressed too flamboyant. You don't want to go there dressed like a rainbow because you're just conspicuous and obnoxious that way. Make sure you just dress normal. Don't go underdressed, don't go overdressed. You're not comparing anybody in there. Just dress normal and make sure you're not notorious. People tend to be having these repugnant feelings towards notorious people. So when you go in there, make sure you're not notorious, you're not flamboyant, you're not obnoxious. Just try to appear normal. And chances are if people can relate to you, then you're already high your way up there to getting your visa. The next mistake is having the wrong posture. Guys, posture is very important. You want to make sure you sit up, and even when you sit up, you maintain eye contact with your interviewer. When they're talking to you, look at them in the eyes and respond to their questions directly. So make sure you're not fidgeting, you're not touching your hands, whatever, you're not biting your pen, you're not putting your hand in your pocket, you're not scratching your hair. Just make sure you're not fidgeting, and that way you're focusing on the interviewer, maintaining eye contact, and he knows this person is genuine, this person is straight to the point, and that can even help in you getting your visa. So this is a common mistake which so many people make during the interview process. You go in there and they ask you for additional information, and you know you have this additional information in your phone or on your hard drive. Instead of rushing to the nearest imaging studio or to the nearest photocopy machine or to the nearest printing press, you are there and you're all sluggish. Okay, I will just come back some other time. I will just find some other appointment. How do you know the volume of files they are handling during this point in time? Sometimes they have high volume of incoming files, and if somebody asks you to bring additional information, you have it on you, rush to the nearest place, get this information, get back to them and give them the information. So they put it in your file and your case advances. So sometimes we are the reason why our cases are being prolongated. We are not being smart, we are not being sharp. For example, I have with me two kinds of pictures. If you go in there and you give a picture of this dimension and they tell you this is not the right size of picture you had to give, rush to the nearest imaging studio and get a picture with the right dimension. And you come back in there in 5 minutes, you give them the picture, they put it in your file, and your case advances. So don't be sluggish, don't be telling them, okay, I'll just book another appointment. This is something you can very easily get in 3 minutes. There's all these imaging studios outside, there's all these photocopy machines just in front of the embassy. Rush outside, get a copy and come back to them. So no need to be prolongating your case for nothing. Be smart, be sharp. If they ask you for something you know you have on you, rush outside and bring it to them in 5 minutes. That way your case advances. So the next thing is that we have to be smart during our interview. For example, sometimes the interviewer will ask you so many questions, giving you so many opportunities for you to prove your case, and we are just there flunking at every twist and turn. So the interviewer is really trying to give you this visa. He gives you so many opportunities for you to prove your case. Why do you want to study this program? You don't know the right answer to give. Why do you want to go to the US? You don't know the right answer to give. So he keeps giving you many opportunities, and you're not smart enough to know this is a second opportunity, this is a second chance. Make sure you seize every little chance you get in there. Sometimes the interviewer just takes a liking to you, maybe the way you look or your smile or whatever. The interviewer takes a liking to you, and he's really trying to give you this visa. So he asks you a question, you flunk. He comes again with another opportunity for you to redeem yourself, you still flunk. So the interviewer at the end of the day is just like, oh well, I tried. You can't say I didn't try. I tried. I really tried. So sometimes you see how they are really trying to give you this interview, this visa, and you're just there flunking at every twist and turn. So you have to be smart, make sure you give them the right answers, answer their questions to their clarity. So the next mistake is the fact that people always think when I get my visa, oh, everything is ended. No, the entire process is not ended. The process only ends when whoever is about to receive you in the US finally receives you. That's when the process ends. So I say all this to say at the port of entry, you're still going to be asked some questions. So when you come to the US, they're going to be asking you, what do you want to do here? You want to make sure you're telling them the same story you said during your interview. Because on the day your interview is concluded, on the day you get your visa, they forward your files to the US. So when you arrive the US, they have your files already and they have the file in front of them. So they want you to say the same thing you said during your interview. So if you have any inconsistencies in your story, you said something different and now you're saying something different, just know you might be on the next available flight back to your home country. So you're coming to the US to study, for example, they'll ask you at your port of entry, there at the airport, those people will ask you, what are you here to do? Oh, I'm here to study international humanitarian law and my semester begins in 2 weeks. That's what you have to tell them, because that's the same story you said during your interview. Or if you begin to say something like, actually, I'm here to work, and if I like the place, I think I'm going to stay and make my family here. you may be on the next available flight back to home country. So make sure you say the same story you said during your interview, and that's how you get in. So the next mistake we always make is the fact that during the interview we are not answering our questions with clarity. When you're answering your questions, be straight to the point, give him the exact answer he wants to hear, and say it precisely and concisely. So this is something my lecturer in Eric used to say. He used to say something like, mais si tu veux me voir, je suis là devant toi. Faut pas aller au Vatican, faut pas aller en Belgique pour me voir, je suis là devant toi. And the translation of this is the fact that if you have something to say, do not beat around the bush, just say it directly, and they're going to get you for what you say. So when you go fidgeting, when you go beating around the bush, it's like you're not sure of your story, you're really struggling to prove this point, and it raises some eyebrows, so it can raise a doubt about your case. Make sure you say what you have to say directly, and chances are you're going to get your visa. So the next mistake is the fact that sometimes we are so anxious to talk, we don't let the consular officer finish asking his question. So you want to make sure you don't interrupt the consular officer. It's actually very rude to cut somebody up when they're talking. So make sure you listen, let him ask the question till the end before you answer. So you want to make sure everything you do during your interview process works for your favor and not against you. So make sure you're not interrupting him, you're not cutting him halfway. That's rude and that's being obnoxious. So make sure every single thing you do in there, from every gesture, from every action, from every word, make sure it works in your favor and not against you. So if you are like me and you think being early to an event is being 30 minutes early, that doesn't really work well for the day of your interview. So on the day of your interview, you have to be at least an hour or even 2 hours early. Being 2 hours early for just one day is not going to hurt you. So make sure you are really early, because by the time you get there, there's all these long lines of people. You can meet 100 people or 200 people ahead of you, and now all these people have to get checked in. So for checking in, there's a lot of little procedures that go in. So every single one of them has to fill this form, and it takes time. Every single one of them have to get their bags checked, and they get the bag tag. Every single one of them have to walk through the automated scanners to make sure they don't have any weapons or whatever it is they check. So every single one of them have to go to the cashier and pay their fees if they have not paid. Every single one of them have to get their fingerprints and thumbprints and stuff like that. And every single one of them have to get a number tag. So if all these people in front of you have to get a number tag, it means you are going to be getting the 201st number or the 210th number, and that really delays you for nothing. So before the time of your interview, you may be late just because you were not there on time. So on the day of your interview, you want to make sure you're a little early, because by the time you get there, you're going to meet all these guys, on the day of my interview, I was there like an hour 30 minutes ahead of time, and I thought I was the earliest bird in the universe. Hey, boy, was I in for a shock. Guys, as the car was just parking in the parking lot of the embassy, I saw like 200 people, and I was like, oh my god, did these people even get any sleep last night? It's 6 a.m. 6 a.m. How is it possible 200 people are here at 6 a.m.? So I was so shocked. And when there are already 200 people there in front of you, it means 200 people are going to get checked in front of you. So because people get checked in according to order of arrival, and that can really delay your case, and you can get to the counter when it's even more than the time of your interview. So you want to make sure you're there on time, you're there early, and that helps you a lot. So the next thing is, don't be nervous. People go in there and they are nervous and they are all shaky and panicky and they're sweating, and the interview, we've seen all of those. It's like, what is this one hiding? Why is this one scared? So when you go in there, just maintain a confident posture. Don't be nervous, don't be sweating. Avoid bad communication. Do not get frustrated. Do not go there and turn around and be the one to be interviewing the interviewer. You are the one who is being interviewed, so just be patient. When they ask you questions, you answer. Do not go and flip the table and be the one to start interviewing the interviewer. Just be nice and be calm and be polite and be direct when they ask you questions, and you are going to get your visa. So the next thing you have to do is know the kind of person you are. How do you handle pressure? How do you act under pressure? There's some people who freak out and they very easily lose it when they're under pressure, and there's other people who are confident throughout. No matter where you put them, they're going to ace their interview. So know the kind of person you are and know how to counteract that. If you're the kind of person who, when you enter the interview and see 100 people or 200 people and all these lights and camera and stuff, and you just start freaking out, make sure you write every single thing down. Because you go in there and the interviewer is asking you, okay, so you're going to live with your auntie. Where exactly does your aunt live? And then you just go blank in front of the interviewer. That doesn't help your case. So if you know you freak out under pressure, write your details down, and when you're in front of the interviewer, he asks you where you're going to live, just bend down, look at your page and tell him, oh, 5712 North Hermitage Avenue. That's how you ace your interview. So know the kind of person you are. If you handle pressure well, good and fine. If you don't, okay, so just be writing every little thing so you don't forget. So those are some of the most common mistakes we make when we go in there for our interview, and sometimes these things can result in us not getting our visas. So let's learn to avoid this, and let's follow some of these tips and make sure we read before going in for our visa interview. So I guess we're coming to the end of today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and click the red subscribe button below and touch the little bell beside it for notifications. And if you're a returning viewer, if you've been watching my videos and you haven't subscribed, please now, please uncle, auntie, please go ahead and subscribe. Click the red subscribe button below and make yourself a family member, and touch the little bell beside it. That way you get notified when I post more of this helpful stuff. So thank you all for watching. See you all in the next video. Goodbye.